Good morning, everyone. In case I haven't met you before, my name is Ai Ching, and I have the privilege of currently serving as your church treasurer. Today, on behalf of the deacons, I'd like to give you an update on our finances and share our church budget for 2026 in the year ahead. I'd like to thank all the pastors and the ministry leaders across all three congregations who have contributed to this year's budget process. It's so very valued. I'd also like to mention the volunteers who serve on our church finance team. Thank you for all that you do in maintaining the church accounts, and together with our church secretary for ensuring that all the finance processes have run so smoothly throughout the year. Before we look at next year's plan and the budget for next year, I thought to give you a quick review of 2025 and the past 12 months. A lot has happened in terms of church finances. It's been a journey of faith, a testimony of God's incredible and miraculous provision, and an experience of us uniting and really coming together to depend on God. To highlight our top 3 areas of investment this year. Firstly, we grew our church staff team. We joyfully welcomed the addition of Pastor Vanessa and Jenny Lau, and our church now has a team of 4 pastors, 2 children's ministry workers, and a church secretary. Secondly, we completed the preparation and planning for stage 1 of the build. This included finishing design and planning, some site preparation, fundraising, contract preparation and signing, and the commencement of construction a few weeks ago. And thirdly, we gave and supported many missionaries, both locally and overseas, in our partnership with them. In a more detailed breakdown, this slide shows the top areas of expenses for our church this year, being number 1, staff, number 2, the build, number 3, supporting missionaries, and number 4, running of the church. The other category, category 5, mainly relates to operating costs, such as utilities, insurance, maintenance, and administration. So, looking ahead to 2026, and the coming 12 months for our church. We really have a vision for 2026 that our budget would be used to equip our church for growth and to invest into our build and the project for community impact. We really want our finances to align with the heart of our church for growing God's gospel work, not only in us, but also in the wider community. So equipping for church growth means we want to continue investing to keep our church staff team ongoing into the next 12 months, the pastors, the kids ministry workers, and the church secretary. And building for community impact means that we really want to use our budget for finishing the construction of stage 1 of the build. And we pray and hope that this will facilitate church growth and more of the community just being able to be invited in to connect with our church too. In more detail, here are the budgets for our funds. We actually have 3 separate funds, and the offerings they hold are reserved for specific purposes and are not interchangeable. Firstly, it's the general fund. That's used to meet the cost of day-to-day running and operating the church and its ministries. Second, we have a building fund, which is used to meet the cost of completion of stage 1 of the build project. And thirdly, we have a missions fund, which is what we use to support our missionaries. There'll be more details shared on the next few slides, but as you can see, this is a significant budget and a significant plan for the coming year. And our budget will again be one of faith. There will be a continued need for faithful giving to the budget, wise stewardship of it, and managing our finances, and to keep depending on God's provision. So I wanted to share a need which we have for the general fund, which is the fund we use to run the church, including paying for staff costs and keeping all our ministries running. Our general fund offerings have lowered this year compared with previous years, as you can see from the chart. And based on this pattern continuing, we forecast that there will be a funding gap or a deficit. On average, we're currently receiving $33,000 a month, but to keep our church running, we actually need $47,000 per month. And this means we need to raise an extra $14,000 each month in general offerings to fill the gap. We as a board are closely monitoring this situation, and we've tightened our budget for next year where we can. There's some more details which we'll share about our strategies for managing this funding gap. So last week in the Build Forum, we shared about our Stage 1 construction contract, $2.44 million. And this is to build our new Mandarin Hall, our dining hall, children's ministry rooms, and car parking. We also shared the reasons for why this contract cost has increased. And these are briefly summarised here. So I'll summarise. Firstly, there's been differences between the old 2020 design and the new 2025 design, but this was to add more space, including some kids' rooms, some additional toilets, and car parking. Secondly, there's been an impact of inflation and some extra unforeseen building compliance costs. The combined amount for number 1 and 2 is approximately $380,000 of the increase. And thirdly, there's been an inclusion of a 10% allowance for contingency for $220,000. So that makes up the remainder of the increase. If you'd like more details on this, I'd really encourage you to listen to the recording of the Building Forum Q&A we held last Sunday. The link is there on the slide. And this slide really aims to give you a snapshot of our building fund position. We currently have $1.86 million in building funds available, thanks to God's provision through the generosity of you as members, as well as gifts from people outside our church who have really supported and come alongside us in the vision to expand and grow our presence here in Nunawading. There is still a need to raise a further $574,000 in building funds to cover the cost related to the increase in the contract cost from 1.8 to the 2.4. This amount will need to be raised before September 2026 in order to finish the Stage 1 build as planned by the end of 2026. Considering the needs that I've just shared about our general and building funds, we as the board wanted to use this opportunity to also share with the church the management strategies we have planned to manage this, which are shown here in order of action and priority. So first and foremost, we're continuing to pray and ask God to provide for our church through his means, and which includes using the members, both current and previous, and the wider public. Secondly, we'll keep closely monitoring and reporting on the funds and the balances and deficits monthly. We'll pop it in the newsletter, the Sunday announcements, and our future Q&A building forums. We'll also, number 3, create some opportunities to give to special offering funds to meet specific needs, such as staff salary costs. Number 4 outlines some contingency measures if items 1 to 3 are not enough. We'll aim to reduce costs further by potentially decreasing some staff hours or reviewing contracts. We'll invite another round of interest-free member loans to help cover the deficits. We'll use part of the pre-approved bank loan to support any shortfalls we might have. And as a worst case, we'll temporarily stop the building project if the funds are exhausted and run out, and we'll resume only when we have raised the sufficient funds to complete. We're also thinking of forming a church fundraising committee to organise some initiatives to support, raising these funds. For example, sausage sizzles or working bees, or doing some of the gardening and cleaning ourselves, all in addition to items 1 to 3. So as a board, our aim is to really just keep the church informed and included in our journey of faith, in seeing God meet our needs as a church, as we continue to trust that he will provide in his ways and his timing. So finally, I wanted to end on a note of encouragement. With everything that I've shared today regarding our church's finances and the budget and the financial needs that we're facing, I wanted to encourage us to remember God as the cornerstone and the head of our church. Our priorities should really reflect our spiritual priorities in how we steward our money and our resources and be the reason as to why we do what we do. So could you please keep praying for our church and prayerfully ask God how you can play a part in giving, in investing, that we would use everything, including our finances, to do the work of the gospel so that God is glorified. So thank you. That's the end of my announcement. If you've got any questions about anything that's been shared today, about our finances, the budget, the build, I'd invite you to approach one of our deacons. We're more than happy to answer your questions. I've also provided a QR code and a link on the screen if you'd like to submit anything in writing to us. So thank you for your time.